What's up, wrestling fans? We are live after Fastlane 2021. Kevin, hot takes. What do you think? Is this a skipper or a must see? What do you think?
I think if you're watching this one, I think it's only because of the significance of it being the road to WrestleMania, the last pay-per-view of the WWE Network era, the last pay-per-view without a crowd before the crowd comes back. I think all those are going to make this one significant, a lot more than anything that actually happened in the ring tonight.
I have to concur wholeheartedly for that. For the most part, I felt like I was watching a Raw or a SmackDown, and I think I said that about the last pay per view for WWE too. It's just they're not bringing their A game.
When we did our preview last week, and again, thank you everyone who tuned in for that. Our previews continue to do great numbers. We appreciate it. But I think we were noting that one, they only had 3 matches booked at the time, even though we predicted 5 because we knew a couple that was likely to happen. We said that they were very likely to throw us some curveballs just because the outcome seemed so predictable. Doug, they put it right down the middle for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Right down the middle, man.
So that, I mean, I think we're in agreement here. And folks, as you know, if you're a fan of the Two Bros Show, watch us regularly. When we do these pay-per-view reviews, we'll first give you the non-spoiler version, just to let you know if you should check out the show if you happen not to. But if you're ready, Doug, we can go start talking about the pay-per-view match by match. If anybody at home watched, please let us know what you think as well. But for those of you, again, before we get into those spoilers, if you're going to watch anything, watch the main event.
Mm-hmm.
Watch Sheamus watch Sheamus and Drew, and watch the pre-show match.
No.
All right, I was going to test Doug there to see if his streak was still intact. Doug, do we start with the pre-show match?
My streak is intact, so talk about the pre-show match.
I have given WWE a lot of credit here in the last few months for having made the pre-show match a little more interesting than we had historically gotten used to it being. They outdid themselves this month. This by far has been the best pre-show match that I can remember. And I'd say it was better than 90% of what was on the main card. So definitely go out of your way to check out the pre-show match. It was U.S. champion Riddle defending against Mustafa Ali, and Riddle retains the championship. The match was great. There was a Broton counter that was just vicious that Ali did that was basically just Riddle was in air. He got the legs up. Ali did right to Riddle's neck and actually just changed his direction, kicked him so hard. Looked really good. Ali posted Riddle too in a way that I had never seen before, and there was also this great, beautiful counter by Riddle in midair into a sleeper hold onto Ali, got him back down on his back. There was this one ended with a bro Derek from the middle rope to the ring. So I mean, these guys really brought it for a pre-show match, and WWE did not go to their standard commercial break, which they tend to do during the pre-show match. So they stayed with it the whole time. They gave it a lot of time. It was athletic and it was consequential because not only did we have a great in-ring contest, at the end of the match, we saw what we had long hoped for, and that was the blow-up of Retribution, whose name Doug nor I could remember during our show last week. So, Doug, we might be getting our Mia Kim and our Dominic Dijakovic back.
That would be excellent. No more T-Boz or left eye or whatever they're calling it, whatever their names were, muzzle face, and I don't know.
So it was a long time coming they tried the experiment. It wasn't working. So hopefully they move on from this. But go out of your way, folks, if you didn't tune in for the pre-show.
Uh-oh, there you go.
There we are. But yes, I'm ready to get on to the main part of the show because I have not a whole lot of notes. I have more notes on the pre-show than I did on most anything else.
Well, I don't even have any notes other than, is this a Raw? So,
well, we start off the main pay-per-view with Jax and Baszler taking on Sasha and Bianca Belair with the women's tag championships on the line. Doug, this one was really a storyline match. We were just kind of waiting around to see one of these two teams was going to implode. The question was, which one was it going to be? In this instance, it ended up being our challengers, which means our champions ended up retaining.
Yeah, and I think in our pre-show we called this, it just depends on what Charlotte has to do for WrestleMania, the way this could possibly go. But, now it seems that Charlotte is completely out of WrestleMania. So and we can talk about that at a later show. But so it just went right down the middle, pushed the storyline along, rookie versus boss, and, champions retain.
It really wasn't it wasn't an implosion of the challengers. I guess I probably overstated that. I mean, it definitely was miscommunication, some pie facing, a slap, that sort of thing. But that total blow up that I kind of want to see to really get the heat that I want to see on this match. It's going to be a great match at WrestleMania, no matter what. But they're really taking their time getting there with the two. I'd like to see a better build for Bianca and Sasha than what we've got thus far.
Absolutely, I love a slow burn, but this is not a slow burn. This is a waste. Well, this is a waste.
we got 3 weeks left, so
right.
it's time to heat that burn.
Yeah.
Next up, Doug, is another one we called correctly because the champs retain as the theme for the night. They didn't really do anything. And, I'm not a fan of just shuffling the deck just because you want to shock somebody. Sometimes you got to do what's best for business, not to use a WWE term. In that way, though, that shows how Fastlane was kind of superfluous as far as a pay-per-view being stuck right before Mania, because there really is no need to change the direction on most of these feuds, and they didn't. Big E did not drop his belt to Apollo Crews. It started off hot. I was really looking forward to this match. I loved the smack talk that Big E was given he was very vocal, and there was a lot of that tonight. I'll get into that later too. We saw kind of the return of vocalization. Maybe they wanted to get that in one more time before the fans came back in and started drowning them out. But the ending, I don't know if that was a botch. Do you think that was a botch, a bad camera angle, or what? It was really flat.
It was flat. I'm not sure, but I don't know.
The ref seemed even confused when she was making the pinfall count. I don't even know if she knew that is this the finish? Right. Is it time for the finish? But this match had a lot going for it. It started off really positive and then just ended out of nowhere.
And not with an RKO from out of nowhere, but just out of nowhere.
But there was a post-match beatdown, which makes me think that this feud is going to go and stretch all the way out to Mania now.
Oh, yeah. We're going to WrestleMania, baby, with this feud. Absolutely. With that post-match beatdown, absolutely.
Yeah. And so speaking of matches that are going to happen at WrestleMania that didn't happen tonight, Doug, you want to talk about our next contest?
Oh, man. And here's another one of those spots where I'm thinking this is a Raw. This is pushing it along. Why are we pushing Shane and Strowman anyway? Because spoilers, folks, it didn't happen tonight. Shane injured a leg, so in training earlier in the day, but he still fed somebody to Braun tonight, in the form of Elias and Gunner. Is that or he was Gunner in TNA, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Whoever he is now happened to be at ringside too. But anyway, there's the old switcheroo at the last moment. Shane clearly can't compete tonight. He's still iced up. He's on a crutch. Elias is coming out there. Shane lets him do a song, of course, interrupts him because that's the gig. That's the gimmick. And he says, "Oh yeah, you're taking my place tonight." And pretty much feeds Strowman, Elias. So there's that.
That happened, and
that happened.
Yeah, basically a squash match. I mean, Elias got in a couple of spots, but that was just about it. And now we get to see the chairman's middle-aged son jump off something high at WrestleMania, which I guess is what this is ultimately going to be all about.
Jump off something impossibly high and frighten his wife and children.
I gave Shane the benefit of the doubt back in the Attitude Era that, because of his age and his big mouth and the bank account, like, okay, I could buy it on occasion and suspend some, disbelief.
Sure.
The match he had with Angle at I think it was a Royal Rumble, or maybe it was King of the Ring, but the one where they're, putting each other through the glass plates and stuff, I think that was King of the Ring. I mean, that was a classic. And there's no doubt that Shane O is, fearless and takes some risk that maybe he shouldn't. But at this stage, you're really stretching credibility that you have a superstar the size and physique of a Braun Strowman, that he should have anything at all to fear from Shane McMahon is kind of laughable. But they'll do their best to smoke and mirror their way through it at WrestleMania. Shane's not going to go out there and get squashed. He probably won't win,
No.
but he will more than hold his own, which, again, at this point, I don't want to see.
I don't want to say, although kudos to Strowman, dude looks fit and vicious. Lean down from what he was previously. He's just looking like a beast. But yeah, and so you put this man in the ring with a very well in shape, a middle aged but yet very well in shape middle aged man. But no, no, I don't want to see it on any show, any pay per view. I don't want to see it at Mania, but we're going to get to see it.
We're going to have it whether we want it or not.
Yep.
And that takes us to our next match, Doug, which was in many ways also another surrogate match, really, for WrestleMania, because what we have is Seth Rollins defeating Shinsuke Nakamura. And, of course, Nakamura, the longtime tag team partner of Cesaro. And obviously, and kudos to Cesaro, obviously Cesaro is heading into a pretty well-profiled WrestleMania contest against Seth Rollins. So the outcome of this one was never really in question. It was solid because of the work of the two men involved, but because there was really no doubt as to who was going to win it, it was just kind of okay.
And I was thinking when I was watching this one, this is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins. This has WrestleMania main event all over it. But watching it, I mean, like you say, it was solid. But these guys weren't going. These guys weren't going like we know these two dudes can go. And I got to thinking during the match, well, we're a few weeks out from WrestleMania. Nobody needs to be going all out and trying to steal a show and popping a knee out of place or whatever at this point. But this one fell flat for me. But
obviously Seth and Cesaro should kill it in front of a crowd at WrestleMania. For Nakamura, yeah, you're right. Like, these are two of the top talents in the world. They could tear the house down. Maybe if it was the Tokyo Dome 6 years ago or something.
Yeah.
At this stage in his career, I don't think anyone expected Nakamura to go over here. But I don't know, logically looking at it, like what Nakamura's path is to WrestleMania. Is it some sort of multi-man ladder match? Is it some sort of return of the Andre the Giant Battle Royal?
Right.
There's not looking to be a whole lot of upside in this contest for Nakamura, other than getting a Fastlane payday.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which leads us to the match that up until until this point, this was the match of the night. And maybe, depending on how you look at our main event finish, we'll get to that when we get to that. This could be the match of the night, but we had Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus in a no holds other than knee slap bar match. So
let me say, they put together a great package, like 20 years of friendship, where you get to see like uber young Sheamus, uber young Drew McIntyre, and build this real, I don't know about the build to this match anyway, but this kind of created like the illusion that there was so much more, so much at stake here. And I like that. But at the end of the day, I knew that McIntyre was going over. We talked about this. We can't have somebody challenging for a championship at WrestleMania losing at Fastlane. So the outcome, I don't think, was ever in doubt. But it was fun getting there. This is where Fastlane actually shifted into a gear to put it into the Fastlane for me anyway.
This is definitely the match. If you were only to watch one match that is going to satisfy, this would be the one. Like Doug said, the only thing that you could say is a negative is that we didn't ever question who was going to win, but they were stiff. These guys, they have a history. They did a really good job of packaging it up. Like you said, the build up has been kind of fast, but they've also already had a couple of contests so that they could play on their back history in those previous two matches, which gave this story a little more momentum than I think some of the other contests tonight. And there was this good-looking crash through the crowd and the bank of LED screens that looked fantastic, as well as a nice white noise through the table, which had the WrestleMania sign just greatly perfectly framed there. Good job by the production crew. Not so sure about the Drew chant. I mean, I'm fine for the popped in noise, and I've even kind of gotten used to the "This is awesome" chants, but the Drew chants might have been a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, the production team has gotten so much better since the beginning of the pandemic with piping in sound, hitting things, hitting the boos and the cheers and the pops where they need to be, even though it becomes almost directional to the audience at home. Okay, cheer for this, boo for that kind of a thing. But it's so much better than it was in the very early days of this. But yeah, the Drew chant.
Yeah, same. But this match was really, really good. Not much more you can say other than Drew is on to WrestleMania and Sheamus is, I don't know.
Gonna do something with Nakamura, maybe. Who knows?
I mean, there's got to be something I would think for in 2 nights of WrestleMania for a guy like Sheamus, but we'll see. His path to WrestleMania is not so clear right now. Unlike what's next, again, there was a lot of storyline building towards WrestleMania, and this was pure storyline in the 5-star contest that we get out of Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So kudos to Alexa Bliss for pinning the 16-time champion. So we'll just say off the bat, your winner is Alexa Bliss.
Yep. Yay, little Miss Bliss.
Obviously we all knew this was just storyline to get to Fiend Orton at WrestleMania. But it was very obvious that this one was pre-shot, and this was before all the the hocus pocus begins. They tipped their hat when, I don't know if you noticed, during Randy Orton's entrance. They usually don't get this shot of the Thunderdome, but they were underneath Orton shooting him kind of from above, and you could actually see the daylight coming because they're in a baseball stadium at Tropicana Field in Tampa. It's 9 o'clock at night. It should be dark. It was not dark. It was definitely daylight outside. So this one was filmed earlier on the day, which also kind of gave away what we knew was going to happen, and that's fireballs. And I did like, though, when Alexa Bliss used her demonic powers to bring down the lighting grid. I had to laugh at Randy Orton with his "You trying to kill me?" Yeah. Says the man who set another man on fire.
And speaking of that,
we have a country fried Fiend, Doug. He's back.
Yes, a very crispy Fiend. I'm not sure is that the new Fiend look, because I don't care for it at all. But
maybe with some salve or something. He's got 3 weeks to heal all that up.
I mean, clearly he needs to spend at least a few days in a burn unit, because he's still looking very oozy and just disgusting.
I know it's been like 3 months now, but think about it. Last time we saw him, he was just a pile of burning embers and clothing. So he's come that far at least.
This is true. He is sort of regenerating, because once upon a time it just looked like a human, like maybe a mannequin that was set on fire in the middle of a ring. So at least he's a human again, or humanoid.
Humanoid, yeah, humanoid might be best for it. I don't know. How do you even rate something like this? It's
we just go on to the next match, I think now.
Yeah, we do, and obviously this has all been the long road to Orton and Fiend at Mania. Depending on your taste is how you're going to really feel about this angle tonight, and probably how you're going to feel about the match here in a couple of weeks, to be honest. But yeah. On to better things, and this it truly was the match of the night, if
Yeah,
not for an ending that some folks might be able to complain about. But we'll get to the ending when we get to the end. The main event tonight is your tribal chief defending his championship against Daniel Bryan with your enforcer Edge at ringside. And that's important. That's something he won on SmackDown in order to be the enforcer by beating Jey Uso. But Doug, let's before we get to this finish, let's talk about the match. I loved Brian's strategy on this,
mhm.
the mind games he was
Yeah,
playing. Again, we mentioned earlier all the talking tonight. They really verbalized a lot in this main event too, and there was just a smugness to Brian that
mhm.
hey, you big, you're powerful, but I'm quick and I'm going to take you down. And the leverage pin where he was standing on the man's arm to try to get the shoulder down. I mean, just all
Mhm.
the little things that Daniel Bryan does so well. He was putting on display. And kudos to Roman Reigns for wrestling a match that's very different than the style he normally wrestles, that he probably gets credit for being a better worker, really. He doesn't get the credit he probably deserves. He showed
Agreed.
tonight that when you put him in a ring against someone like Daniel Bryan, he can play his part really, really well.
And my goodness, the man played his part so well. Everybody involved hit their marks beautifully tonight. It was, everything looked great. The facial expressions, for Heyman,
Oh,
Brian.
Heyman.
Heyman sales outside the ring are great anytime.
I mean, you and I talked about it. We all knew who was winning this match. And yet, looking at Paul Heyman's face, I doubted for a moment. I'm like, oh my
Right?
gosh, Brian's got him. Look at Paul.
Yes.
Actually, the only mark they didn't hit, Doug, it still ended up being one of the spots of the night. Daniel Bryan jumping off the ring apron and was supposed to be caught and then put through a table by Roman Reigns. Instead, he just ended up like falling with him. So it almost looked like he just power slammed him
It
off
did. I
the ring apron to the floor, which was brutal, I'm sure. Felt awful, I'm sure, but it looked fantastic.
and neither man missed a beat after that either. Just,
Couple of pros.
I mean, such pro level pros. I mean, really, because I was like, oh man, that was oh okay, they're just gonna keep rolling, and it looks great.
They did a fantastic job of structuring this match. Got some nice hope spots in with the yes lock a time or two, and even got a visual. And this is
Mhm.
where I want to talk to you a little bit. Okay, so obviously Roman Reigns wins this contest, but folks, there was a ref bump, and that brings the enforcer into the ring. And Edge, while in the ring, also gets bumped by Daniel Bryan's errant chair shot, which comes back to play into the finish.
Only after Jey Uso interferes in the match, though,
Yeah.
with a chair.
So
But
that's where I'm saying that, it's match of the night, but if you don't like a lot of extracurricular activities in your finishes, there was definitely that with this one, but it definitely built to, storyline wise, it all was kind of structured to happen this way. So
Mhm.
I can't really knock it for that. We get the visual tap out. Like we actually see Daniel Bryan tapping Roman Reigns out, which really shocked me this close to WrestleMania. But instead of taking the submission, an angry Edge smashes Daniel Bryan with a chair.
Mhm. Yell, and then does the same to Reigns, yelling, "This is mine." And then just walks off. And I honestly, at that point, I expected the WWE logo to come up in the corner and the pay per view to end right then and there. With just a non-finish finish, but it went on.
The match continued because there was no referee to call a disqualification. New ref comes in the ring, and Roman Reigns basically just rolls over, and 1, 2, 3, that's the end of the match. The match itself, up to that point, was great. Then the finish really was more about the storyline. But about that storyline, it edges your face heading into Mania.
Yeah, because Edge kind of had that Edge snap, that
Yeah.
old school Edge, snap where he goes a little off the rails.
I think a couple weeks ago, when we were, well, last week actually, when we were talking about this, I think it was David Poole who said, do you think they might go a triple threat at Mania? And I think I said, no, I don't think that's I mean, it's possible, but I don't think that's the direction they're going. And that was playing, that comment that was left on our show by David was actually going through my mind because not only did the face hit the purest white meat baby face that you could ever have. The heel in the scenario actually tapped out to Daniel Bryan. So Daniel Bryan's path to WrestleMania, I thought, was maybe going to be some sort of consolation match with Jey Uso, like a secondary feud to the main feud. Mm-hmm. But after Edge attacks Bryan, after Bryan tapped out the champion, Bryan's got a legitimate claim to that title.
Yes, so because I was thinking, that's why I was thinking, we get the WWE logo and a fade to black as Edge walks off, because I'm like, okay, that leaves it dangling, which, by SmackDown on Friday, we are heading towards a triple threat. But they went ahead and finished the match, so I'm honestly not sure which direction they go in now. I'm sure the direction I want to see, because I would love to see Bryan in that main event in a triple threat,
Typically, I'm more of a fan at Mania of the one-on-one contest, particularly one that's been built as well as Edge and Reigns. On the other hand, it's Daniel Bryan. You did, brother. I'm giving you credit too. I think that there's a very good, better than 50-50 chance now that, that unless they resolve it this week quickly in some sort of match on SmackDown, that I'd say that we're looking at a triple threat match for Mania. And again, normally I like the one-on-one, but you got a guy who hasn't really wrestled a full schedule in more than a decade, and you got Roman Reigns, who is an incredible character, but always tends to rise to the level of his competition. If you want to make sure that WrestleMania main event is going to be crisp and look good, all you have to do is look at the main event of Fastlane, and you have your answer right there. Put Bryan in the mix, and it probably makes everybody feel a whole lot safer about an Edge Roman Reigns contest at WrestleMania. So I'd be happy for it. I don't think that it's going to change the outcome any, but I think it would make it can make for a great triple threat match.
Absolutely, I would not complain about that at all. But that is Fastlane.
It is Fastlane. Yeah, in a nutshell. You saved yourself some time, folks. Go watch the main event. Watch the pre-show match, check out Sheamus, but otherwise, we just told you everything you needed to know.
Everything you need to know. So next week, what are we doing next week, Kevin? Is there another pay-per-view next week?
No, we're getting a break on the pay-per-view. So first, folks, I want to say, if you didn't see it, we actually snuck in a bonus episode on you this week. If you watched tonight on Peacock, if you watched Fastlane on Peacock, let us know how that experience was, because in our bonus show that we put out there on Friday, we talked about the move to Peacock, the fact that WWE Network is now on Peacock, and the response has been really great. The episode is doing great numbers thus far. If you didn't see it, we summarize everything you need to know and the things we suggest you do before you make that switch yourself, which you'll have to do by April 4th. So keep that in mind, and definitely check out that episode if you missed it. Next week, Doug, 8 o'clock, we're back on Sunday. We are in the thick of WrestleMania season. We're talking Hall of Fame. The WWE Hall of Fame will be the following week, would be the week after that, but we'll have to be previewing WrestleMania. So we're going to be talking Hall of Fame next Sunday, because we know pretty much most of the folks that are going in, because they're doing the class of 2020 in addition to the class of 2021, of which they've just announced Molly Holly and Eric Bischoff up to this point in time. So next week, we're going to look at all the Hall of Fame inductees from both this year and last year. We're going to talk about our personal memories of them and invite you to join us. Talk about yours as well. We'll be talking our favorite matches, whether we think this is deserving accolades for these folks or not. But everybody loves nostalgia. If you're an old school wrestling fan, talking Hall of Fame should be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So until then, folks, I'm Doug.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next Sunday. Thanks for watching, everybody.